Good afternoon.
Yeah. Please, hello and good afternoon. Welcome everyone. Please, I would like the panelists, invited guests to switch on their videos for better participation. Oh, thank you. I just want to briefly inform one of the panelists, Mr. Brian Yusuf from Kenya. Yeah. Well, good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are joining us from. Thank you. Oh, welcome. Thank you for joining our panelist discussion today on the 8th edition of the African Real Estate and Business Insights. My name is Halima Aliyu with EasyNet Global. I'll be moderating this event today. Well, before we begin, I would quickly like to give a brief info on AREBI. We began this event earlier this year, and through our discussion, we have amplified conversation on the challenges, policies on affordable housing, urban development, construction, and investment. We have also fostered a strong network of leaders dedicated to advancing Africa's urban and real estate landscape. One of our aims is to promote investment and innovation in African real estate, advance scalable and suitable affordable housing solutions, build a knowledge of network that empowers professionals and youth. The theme today is transforming affordable housing, balancing profit, impact, and policy in Africa's urban future. Before we begin, I would like to briefly run through our agenda for today. This session is going to last approximately 1 hour, 15 minutes. And for the audience, you can leave your questions in the chat box. We're going to have a playback on YouTube, which will also be shared via our WhatsApp group. Before I hand over to Mr. Hans, which will be providing key insight to our key discussion today, I would like to briefly introduce him. From South Africa, Mr. Han is the CEO and founder, transitioning to chairman of Affordable Living Solutions Africa, which is ALSA, and a global pioneer in concept engineering and renewable energy. With 4 decades of business development experience in emerging markets, he founded ALSA and introduced South Africa's first property development franchise model. Under his leadership, ALSA has secured international partnerships, launched scalable projects, and it's establishing a 300 million rand fund to support equity and debt finances for franchises. Welcome, Mr. Hans. You have the floor, please.
My pleasure. How much time do we have for a presentation?
Let's say roughly 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah, if you can round up around that.
Okay, that's fine. No, that's I can manage. So
Right,
let me
that's
share the screen.
Okay.
Can you put on the sharing screen?
Yes, please.
Yeah, but you must allow it.
Okay.
No, go to share screen, Hans.
Yeah, I do, but the
About-
host hasn't allowed sharing for this meeting.
No, I'm sure you can. host disabled participate. Okay, participant screen sharing. Halima, you need to enable
I'm
from
Now,
your side.
okay, now it works.
You can
Here we are.
share that. You
Can you
Share.
share it now? Okay, yeah, great.
Okay, here we are. I think everyone can see the screen, I think.
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, what we do is we are developers in the affordable housing market, and we are the first in South Africa and Africa who do it through a franchise concept to enable young entrepreneurs to become developers. We are a member of FASA. FASA is the branch organization for franchise organizations in South Africa. And we're rolling out through South Africa at the moment. Let me see how this works. Here we are. So yeah, as said, we are extremely focused on affordable housing and first-time buyers. So we work together with the municipalities, with government, with the Department of Human Settlement. You see below our strategic partners in South Africa. That goes from rent to own methodology to sales agents to bond applications to AI systems, insurance, banks, and crowdfunding. And you see that all those instruments will play a role. We have a strategic alliance with SALGA, which is the South African branch organization for municipalities. The national leaders were at our pilot project 3 weeks ago. So, as said, we are focusing on the affordable market. So we want to focus on first-time buyers because they are struggling at the moment, as we all know. There's a massive backlog in that market. And through standardization, we are able to deliver this project to the South African first-time buyers. And for us, it's a very important side effect is that we want to stimulate home ownership for the middle class. We all know that the middle class must stabilize the country. And so we want people to take pride of their first home. And we also work with maximum renewables. So the unit has full solar, batteries, heat pump. We work on EDGE certification, so we can do CO2. So here you see our pilot project. It is a project of 400 units in total. First two blocks are sold and in transfer. You see the solar panels on the roof. And so what you want is to have dignity as well and ownership. And through the franchise concept, we can roll out faster through South Africa. So we work with the public-private partnership with the strategic role players. That's the municipalities, it is province, it's national, and the franchise platform allows that to do so. So we see that the municipality, they have a pipeline of land and accessibility, bulk services. We talk later in this seminar about, okay, how can we speed up the process? And so from our side, we do the visibility, design, finance, build, manage under one platform. So that's that's what ALSA is doing, and we do the risk allocation. So the municipality identifies land. We have now secured first portions of land together with municipality. We also do private land. So that's the capital financing, the senior, junior financing, tokenization through a franchise concept. Sorry, through the methodology to raise funds in a broader public. So yeah, what we have our thesis, how do we want to work with local entrepreneurs. We stimulate SMEs. That's for us extremely important, that we are not a corporate, we are an SME, and we want to stimulate women-owned businesses in South Africa and roll it out throughout Africa as soon as we are fully operational here. So here you see the training programs we are running together with the municipalities, the policy, so what is the local procurement plan, so that we train the bricklayers, because everyone talks about AI today, and that AI is the holy grail for everything. But at the end of the day, you need the bricklayers, the plasterers, the people on the ground to build the units. And so that's for us also very important. The trends, what we see, we have one accountable integrator, which is ALSA, and a bankable pipeline. We have now 40 projects in our pipeline. We have 15 franchisees signed up. So you see that within 1 year we were able to really prove the model. So here you see the prospects we have. We have projects going from initiation phase to implementation phase. So we support our franchisees through all the concepts and of the 4 phases. So we are throughout the provinces in South Africa. Yeah, here you see the partnership model, how we work together with the municipality, with the financial world. Financial world is paramount important. The DFIs, the international financiers, sales origination, bond origination. What we see is in our target market, also quite a few people are in debt review. And we can assist them through a rent-to-buy scheme to clean up the credit scores. So technology is for us very important. For us, it's very important to work as much as possible together with the financial world, but also with modern technologies. We are working on an EDGE certification with IFC. So here you see an overview of our partners. We aligned with human settlement, and you see here a picture of the landscape where we're working with all the major banks, the IDC, DBSA, the Capitex of this world. So that's gives you an overview of what we do. So we have a one-stop shop together with our franchisees, and so yeah, we are focusing on sales. We don't do rental, we don't do student, we don't do units above 1 million rand. So we're fully focusing on a very specific market where there is the biggest backlog. And we find this very interesting to have a chat with the panel on how can we fast track, because there's a massive backlog and the backlog is only growing. So yeah, what we try to do is to be as green as possible. So we solved the energy. We are now working on the water. First project is 400 units, between the 450 and the 750. This is our second project where the SDP is approved. You see it, it's a nice small inner fill project, 300 units. This is a big project in Pietermaritzburg where we are going to market now. So that's a larger project. It's an 800 plus, so that keeps us busy for a few years. And here you see a small, nice project in a rural town in the Eastern Cape. And this is phase 1. It's 150 units, and it's in Idutwa. And yeah, it's a flagship project to demonstrate what you can do in the inner city, and in how you can do also densification into the rural communities and the smaller cities. So yeah, we work together with there's a 3-party government, financial industry, project developers, and what we try to bring new developers. Because what you see is that the development world is quite aged. They are all 55 plus, and what is needed to bring new young project developers into this market, and that's what also as the franchisor is doing. So it's a collective mission. I think we have a massive task ahead of us, and that's what we try to do, to combine the forces fast track. So that is where we are. This is my last slide. Is the benefits. We want to do 100,000 homes in the next 10 years. So we want to do 10,000 units a year with the 50 franchisees and then roll it out throughout the SADC and other parts of Africa, because in principle, every country has the same challenge. So that it's for us very important to work with government, the DFIs, financial world. So I think I'm just within 10 minutes. So I would like to leave it like this for the moment, and then the questions and answers will come later, I assume. But it's open for questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hans, for such an insightful presentation. And also, I can see the progress and the future aim of building 100,000 homes by 2030. That's massive. Well, I'll just quickly, please, if you have any questions for Mr. Han, just drop it in the chat below and he will answer your questions. Thank you. So quickly, I'd like to introduce our speakers from various African countries. I'll start from South Africa, which we have Dr. Priska, a senior lecturer in real estate at the University of the Witwatersrand. She holds a PhD in real estate, where her work centers on unlocking efficiency in the housing value chain to expand access for lower income households. Her research advances practical investment-driven solutions sorry about that. Her research advances practical investment-driven solutions, especially the role of private capital in closing the housing affordability gap. While from Kenya, we have Brian Yusuf. He's an advocate of High Court of Kenya and founder of Brian Yusuf Advocate, a corporate and commercial law firm based in Nairobi. He holds an LLB, a diploma in law, and an LLM in international business law from Middlesex University, London. He specializes in real estate, corporate and commercial law, intellectual property, immigration, fintech, and data protection, advising developers on bankable residential and commercial projects across Kenya. He previously taught land law at RCTI, based at the Regional Center for Mapping of Resources for Development, RCMRD, and intergovernmental organizations with 20 member states in Eastern and Southern Africa, and continues mentoring upcoming land surveyors. While from South Africa also, we have Mr. Tando, which is the Managing Director of Affordable Living Solutions Africa, which is ALSA, a dynamic executive with over 18 years of experience in business development, property strategy, and public-private partnership. He also leads national operations, franchise, performance, government collaborations, stakeholder engagement, and a visionary strategist. Tando is building ALSA national network while aligning projects with South African housing properties and including an inclusive development goals. From Nigeria, we have AS Yunusa, the Managing Director of Magnum Concept Limited, leading innovation housing and commercial projects across Nigeria. He's a structural engineering and a real estate expert. Under his leadership, Magnum Concept focuses on smart, energy-efficient homes and client-centric real estate solutions. He's also passionate about mentoring young professionals. From Ghana, we have Mr. Sam, which is also the Managing Director and co-founder of Ghana Bound, a real estate firm connecting diaspora clients with trusted housing investment in Ghana. He also bridged the gap between quality housing and reliable services for Ghanaians abroad, fostering trusted and transparent real estate. solutions. So I'm just going to dive into, so that's the intro from our panelists. So I'm just going to dive into our questions now. You know, as African cities continues to grow at a remarkable pace, the need to deliver affordable housing while ensuring profitability and strong policies alignment directly shapes the future of our urban development. Looking at the data, it shows, I'll start with Nigeria, it shows like the housing deficit is estimated approximately 28 million units, up from 17 million in 2023. These numbers underscore both the urgencies and complexity of closing the affordable housing gaps across the continent. So my question to AS UNOSA is, how can developers deliver affordable homes while remaining profitable despite rising costs in Nigeria?
Okay, thank you very much. Welcome to all our to the panel, all the invited guests, and thank you, Mr. Hans, for that insightful presentation. So I was actually trying to ask you a question, especially on the franchise system that you adopted. We probably would have that conversation later. So how can affordable housing be made available also for profit to be reaped from it, especially from us that are playing from private sector? The concept of affordable housing has become relative over the years, because when we talk about affordability, we look at what is the income threshold of the nation in particular. But addressing from the Nigerian context, affordability is housing that are within the range of middle to high income earners. And over the years, the data we have for housing deficit in Nigeria keep on increasing. Before, it was below 70 million, and presently, the government and the private institutions are, well, they're still trying their best. The gap keep on widening, courtesy of urbanization and population growth. But are we going to fold our arms to waiting for government? No. So how can this housing become affordable for people? There are so many initiatives, even also in our organization, that we have bring on board. And one of them is financial innovation, at which housing are being purchased on long term. Instead of advocating for instant payment, people are given payment plans. In private sector like us, the maximum we can provide is 3 years. Where people buy houses and pay within 3 years here. Then also, we have government incentives that we normally provide people for them to take advantage of. For example, we presently have what we call MOFI, Ministry of Finance Incorporated, where the government comes in, provide the funding, and the off-taker paid over 20 to 28 years. And also looking away from the finances, we look at also the component that makes housing itself. In Nigerian context, in the last 2 years, we experienced a lot of economic downturn that drive inflation as high as 300% in construction industry. And what has this done? It has forced the private sectors to look at alternative ways of bringing out this product, because irrespective of how we are going to see it, housing is a product. And one of these alternative way is marrying modern construction method. Before, everybody talk about if there is no concrete, it means the housing will not be provided. But now there are innovations that are on board where the amount of your cement, which is the major component and also one of the most expensive component of it, are being reduced, which also is the burden on the off-takers. And also the construction method or taste for our clients. We found out that the taste of which the off-takers come for in acquiring houses also affect their affordability. There's nothing wrong that you build a house instead of going for tiling that are being imported and exposed to every economic index. You do a normal German floor that is likely affordable for a common man. So these and many more are little ways at which in Nigeria we are trying to bring the prices of houses down despite the economic downturn we are also experiencing. And also, we also leverage on government incentive through private and public partnership. Over time, the government normally call developers, provide the land and also the internal infrastructure, which drastically reduce the cost of construction. And when this incentive is being given, the cost of the product normally comes down. So these are little ways at which the houses are being made available in Nigeria. So thank you, Halima.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir. I'll just quickly, because we've already taken more than 30 minutes of our time, so I'll quickly just rush to the next question. From Kenya, Mr. Brian, there's a backlog of over 2 million units with only partial delivery of affordable housing annually. How can Kenya legal and regulatory framework better support public and private partnership to close the housing shortfall?
Thank you so much, Halima, for the opportunity. So before I delve into my response, I would like first of all to basically discuss the structure of affordable housing under the legal system in Kenya. One of the main anchors of affordable housing in Kenya is the Constitution of Kenya 2010, which provides that every person has a right to accessible and adequate housing. This is a new law that came into place in 2010, but then before that, our constitution did not address the issue of affordable housing or housing at all as a right that every Kenyan citizen has. The second piece of legislation that governs affordable housing in Kenya is the Affordable Housing Act, which was passed in 2024. And this was after some push and shove between the government and activists. In 2023, the government tried to bring in affordable housing taxes or levies through the Finance Bill of 2023, but that did not succeed. So Parliament went back and came up with the Affordable Housing Act, which is a standalone law that allows the government to deduct 1.5% of gross salary from all employees and 1.5% of gross income from people who are not employed. So this is the money that the government is now currently using to develop affordable housing. Then the other law that we use, or that is basically supporting affordable housing, is the Public-Private Partnership Act of 2022. So those are the main laws. We have a multitude of other laws that deal with planning, environmental issues that also touch on affordable housing. So to respond to your question is, how can the legal and the framework better support public-private partnerships? One of the things we have right now is that we have a disconnect between the law that deals with affordable housing and the policies or the frameworks that are in place. If you look at our Public-Private Partnership Act, it was a law that was passed in 2021, yet the Affordable Housing Act has come in 2024. So we have two pieces of legislation that are not in coherence. You have to apply both at different intersections. So for the government to make affordable housing a reality, we need to have probably like something like a sector-specific regulation on the public-private partnerships angle that supports affordable housing, such that if you're going to apply for let's say you want to partner with the government to come up with houses, you have to go through the National Treasury, which is an organization of the Ministry of Finance, which is responsible for approving anything that is done under the Public-Private Partnership Act. Once you get your approvals on that side, you still have now to go to get your physical planning, get your national environmental licenses and all that. So we need to have one sector-specific framework that addresses affordable housing within the public-private partnership.
Okay.
The other thing we also need to do is, as a country, is that we need to de-risk land and land tenure. We've made some developments when it comes to matters of land tenure and security of land. However, in some cases, we still have places where title deeds are not very clean.
Yeah.
You have to do a lot of due diligence. You have to make sure that your title is clean. You have to give guarantees to investors that if you get a title deed for this piece of land, then your investment is not going to go to waste in the event of a dispute. Some areas, the government is still cleaning up some of these land records. The National Land Commission is addressing historical land injustices in some parts of the country that date back to the colonial periods that are yet to be addressed. The other thing that the government needs to do is the government needs to empower the county governments or the local governments. If you remember, I mentioned that we have a new constitution from 2010, which now created a system of devolution whereby we have two levels of government. We have the national government and the county governments, and we have 47 counties in the country. If you look at the constitution, housing and affordable housing is a function of the county government, sorry. But then if you look at the current affordable housing programs that are being undertaken by the government, it is the national government that is championing this, all the way from the collection of taxes at the national level through the Revenue Authority and through the, tendering for the developers to come up with the units, giving out land. The county governments are probably last watching from the sidelines, yet under the constitution, the county governments have the responsibility for ensuring that we have affordable housing at the county level. The only thing the national government is required to do under the constitution is just to provide a policy or a framework that the county governments can implement. Maybe the other thing is that last thing probably that the governments need to do is bring in transparency. If you follow the debate about affordable housing in Kenya since 2023, when this new regime came in, one of the agendas was provide affordable housing to the middle class and the people below the middle class. However, the imposition of a mandatory levy or tax on everybody who earns a salary or anybody who does business was seen as unfair. There are people who currently own their properties. They don't need to get a new property. So the question was, why are you forcing certain people to pay taxes on houses that they might not probably need? So there's need for transparency. And this was one of the things that also led to some of the demonstrations you saw in 2024. There's a bit of a push and shove in 2023 when the initial legislation came into place. And probably the last thing I would say is that in terms of framework and regulations is that we need to see the government and because the national government is championing affordable housing in Kenya, they need to look at the very bottom of the pyramid. The current structure, affordable housing structure in Kenya is targeting people who earn between 80,000 Kenya shillings, which is about $500 or $600 a month, all the way to 150,000, which is about probably $1,200 a month. There's a huge chunk of Kenyans who are below that threshold that need access to affordable housing. These are the people who need low-income rental units that the government is not really looking at or targeting at. Maybe I think that will be a summary of what I would yeah. But I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Yeah, you did actually. You answered the questions perfectly. Thank you for such. Thank you for that. Where you talked about for the local government should be empowered, need for government to look at into low rental earners, and talking about title deals. Well, I'll quickly run to Dr. Priscilla. Dr. Priscilla, are you here with us?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We have in South Africa, the data shows that over 2.4 million households remain on the National Housing Needs Register. Where do you see the biggest barriers in delivering gap market housing, particularly in terms of policy and access to finance?
Thanks a lot. I'm happy to be here, giving you my thoughts about this. Yes, the 2.2 million varies depending on where you get the numbers from. Otherwise, it ranges up to 2.8 million. If you find some other data from UN Habitat, World Bank, IFC. So it just depends. Sometimes we take a middle point. But we try in South Africa to look at the gap market in the definition of those people who earn between 3,000 rands, 501 to 22,000 rands. So in US dollars, this is just about 194 rands to 1,222 rands per month. So it's a huge range there. But if you look at this as a market, you will see that you can take a midpoint of a house that is valued at 450,000 rands, and you multiply by about 2,200,000 the gap market, the deficit. It means that you are looking at 990 billion rands, and in US dollars, that's about 55 billion using a rate of 18. So it's a huge market waiting to be tapped into. But as we speak, we all don't know how best to tap into this market. Listening to Hans present his model about the franchise, I can see how the PPP model that we are all talking about can be done. And I think this can stimulate developers as well as smaller level or small developers that can also tap into the market. And the other problem is that households remain highly indebted in South Africa. So even if they are earning a little bit of money, about 62% goes to servicing their own debt. So what remains is not possible to pay for a mortgage, even if a lower mortgage payment that you are required to pay. That's an issue. The main issue is also finance. That's the lack of capital, that we don't have a lot of money from the capital markets to see the need to go and do developments in the gap market. It's also because the money is not attracted into the market because of risk. So it's a revolving game, that when the risk is assessed as too high, how then does the capital get stimulated into the market? So that's a major egg and chicken. Which one should start? There is a lot of risk from the investor's perspective. So the money gets dry because of the risk assessment that we have, which is true. And so in South Africa, we have done a lot of efforts from government point of view. We have subsidies through RDP housing. We have what we call first home finance nowadays, where people can get a form of subsidy to be able to afford the mortgage that they are required to pay through because they are a gap market. We have that, and we have informal settlement upgrading that we also have. A lot of efforts are coming from government side, and people were talking about 4 billion or 40 billion. I'm yet to confirm that government from all countries that we know has managed to produce assets for low-income people that are to the tune of 4 billion or 40 billion. I'll check that. So it's a huge, we can say, achievement from the South African government to be able to do that. And so even if we still have the 2.2 requirement as a backlog that we are struggling to find supply for, government has tried really to put in effort to do that. So I think I can leave it there. I have some other additions to say how can we innovate. So I was thinking a lot about how can we innovate. So I see blended finance that can help coming from development finance institutions such as IFC. In South Africa, we have the Development Bank of Southern Africa. So where they can partner with the developers to be able to produce the gap market housing that we need. But I can see that within the inner cities, we can do urban regeneration that should include converting some offices that are not conducive for office market anymore. We can try to refurbish them into some housing units. But for those developments, if we find land, we can build high rises. So when we are closer inside our economic hubs, it makes sense to build up. And when we move upwards, it makes sense to build lateral. We can, because land is cheaper there. And I see no problems building in the peripheries if you support with infrastructure. When you look into the developed world, you will see they have rail transport, which can take you 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So you are indifferent whether you are in the periphery of whatever or you are in the inner cities. But we must take it as a normative reasoning that when you are in the inner cities, you must build high rises. It makes sense because the land is not there. But when you go outwards, you can create quality neighborhoods that you can build even high rise, but there is need for government to come in with this transport-oriented development. And I think I can end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Priscilla. I think what you just highlighted based on affordable housing in terms of banking, innovation, governmental intervention, infrastructure, I think we all have this in common from various countries, like Nigeria and Kenya, from what you just said earlier on. I'll quickly just head on to Mr. Tando. Are you here with us? Mr. Tando?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
I am. Yes, I am.
I'm just going to quickly ask you the question. What innovative, well, I think she's already, and Dr. Priscilla has already highlighted on that briefly. I think I would say, what steps is South Africa taking to reduce the backlog of low-income housing, and how effective are these so far?
Okay. That would be your question 3.
Yes, yeah.
I had prepared myself to engage perhaps even all 4. But from a South African context and point of view, to reduce the backlog in low-income housing and how effective the efforts are, I would go as far as to say that there has been meaningful effort. If you look at policy intent, programs, and institutions that exist. But the big constraint is delivery capacity, speed, and coordination, not only budget. because I think that is the major focus for everyone, budget, but we do have delivery capacity, speed, and coordination issues. In our experience, the most effective step forward is municipal enabled pipelines from land and planning alignment plus bulk services coordination. That becomes key. And then if you talk about private delivery capacity, which is the finance and construction as well as operations. And then you look at single accountable integrator, as Hans mentioned earlier also. So there's no everyone is responsible, therefore no one is responsible problem, which is generally the African context. So with a single accountable integrator, we make things move quite fast. Clear performance frameworks with dashboards and KPIs. We live in a tech-enabled environment, and we're pushing towards systems that are AI-driven for better efficiency as well. So if you look at the effectiveness, it improves when we shift from one-off projects to repeatable platforms. So that's why ALSA is positioning a national rollout mechanism in partnership with the South African Local Government Association, which is SALGA, as well as human settlements, as well as the various agencies within the South African broader framework of government. So delivery becomes systemized and not episodic. And that's where we usually falter from. If you look at an Africa Forward policy line, we're basically saying if South Africa perfects a scalable public-private partnership housing operating system, we don't only reduce the backlog, we actually create a blueprint that can strengthen housing policy and delivery across the continent, because ultimately that's what we are pushing towards. So strengthening the public enabling environment at municipal level, which is the local municipal level. So the biggest practical lever here is what municipalities control. That's land pipeline and access pathways, spatial planning, alignment, bulk services coordination, beneficiary targeting and oversight, and a clear approvals cadence, because that's where things normally stall. When those pieces move in sync, projects stop stalling. That's why we're working through a triple P aligned framework with the municipalities' focal points, service level agreement, style turnaround expectations, and live dashboards for transparency. And African governance needs those enabled platforms. If you also look at mobilizing private delivery capacity and capital, not just budgets. The backlog, if the last stats and research I was reading says Africa is looking at 53 million plus backlog. And I'm quite astounded that Nigeria holds 28 million of that number. So the backlog cannot be resolved by government budgets or capacity alone. So the shift is toward the private-public partnership execution that brings capital, delivery systems, as well as a lifetime operations into one accountable engine. When we are saying that the local community must be empowered so that in the duration of the projects and post the projects being established, the skills set remain within that community and empowers that community economically. Number three, if you look at converting housing demand into housing readiness, a major constraint is that many households can pay monthly, but aren't immediately bond ready because of credit issues. So ALSA's approach includes credit coaching and financial literacy as a pathway to home ownership. This is needed in the broader African context. So backlog reduction isn't only about building the units and densification and all of this. It's also about enabling uptake and sustainability. So we're already implementing a roadmap that includes SALGA engagements, Department of Human Settlement endorsements, municipal memorandums of understanding, pilot activations, and then scaling to 10 plus projects with the development financial institutions joining the funding syndication. So this is crucial from our end. There are effective where delivery is systemized. So this is something that collectively, as practitioners within the space, we need to be systematic in approach if we are to deliver the backlog. And if we perfect a repeatable PPP operating model, supported by local government as well as national governments, and an execution with transparent dashboards, we are not only reducing backlog locally in South Africa, we are making South African system ready to deploy across Africa and positively influence policy through proven implementation. I'll pause here for now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tando. That was very, very insightful. I'll quickly just ask Mr. Han in regards to what you just mentioned earlier on, and in regards to his presentation too. Hi, Mr. Han, you're still here with us, right? Yeah, I can see you. In looking at ALSA project and the impact it has made in South Africa, what other solutions has ALSA done in order to reduce the gap of affordable housing?
I think what is for us important is the standardization and focus, and ask government to endorse and the industry to standardize. And that's what we think is the major one. So as also we are extremely focused in standardization. We don't want to solve everything because the backlog is massive. So if you look to the pyramid, the housing pyramid, there you see that the low income, that's we can't serve with our model. But if you look to the people earning between, as was mentioned, between the 10 and the 25, that's where that's the low end of the affordable market. That is where we can serve. That's the first time buyers. They are struggling at the moment to get bonds because construction costs are high to deliver a proper product. So we believe very much in standardization, mass production, a large rollout, and have the government to endorse it. Because you see in Europe as well examples. In Europe, you see examples whereby government fast tracks the permitting process. If you see from greenfield to construction can take in South Africa 3 years at least. So if we can fast track that, then you also save money. So then your development will be cheaper. So that's why we have that holistic approach that we don't serve everyone. We serve a specific target market, which is in great need. So I think that's for me the key part of this discussion and how we can work with the public domain.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Like I said, the discussion is supposed to last for 1 hour, 15 minutes, but we've already exhausted 1 hour, 10 minutes. I have few questions I need to ask, but the time is not favoring me, so I will just stop here. Please, from the audience, if you have any questions to ask, please kindly direct your messages or questions to the panelists you would like to answer your questions. You can just drop in your questions in the chat box, please. And also, yes, sir, you wanted to ask a question to Mr. Han earlier on. Yeah, definitely. We are going to give few minutes for the audience to network with the panelists and panelists to network with one another. Well, we just quickly want to give the audience the opportunity to ask questions if they have any before the networking begins.
Okay, thank you, Halima. I wanted to ask Mr. Hans, during his presentation, he spoke intensively about leveraging on franchising for bringing down the cost of housing, if I get him right. So please, I want him to throw more light on it.
Yeah, I think what we are all SMEs, and we know that SMEs can be quite efficient. So we think with the combination of small dedicated companies, standardization, cost of capital, renewables is now cheaper than in the past. So what you can see, if you implement renewables effectively, you can lower your capex and even lower your opex. And all those little steps together increase the affordability. And with standardization, you lower on architectural fees, you lower on QS fees, you lower on civil engineering fees and construction engineering fees. So it is a combination of all small little steps. But if you combine all those little steps together, and if you have the EDGE certification and international finance, and you can also make the cost of capital lower, there's all those contribute to the affordability. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Mr. Hans, thank you very much for that response. Thank you very much.
And so we are very keen to roll out, as what Mr. Tando said as well, we're very keen to roll out this model into Africa. And because we think it is an effective model, and we're proving it as we speak in South Africa.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to have you all today. It seems like everybody in the audience are satisfied. None have questions for any panelists. We're just going to give 2 minutes for networking with the audience and the panelists before we round up for today. So
I think.
Yeah, I'm listening.
And I give. Yeah, I think it's interesting. We have an interesting group around the continent, including research. Would it be possible, would it be interesting to make a small group, a small app group, and stay in touch with each other and explore thinking and ideas, how we can support the implementation?
Definitely. Definitely. I'll share the
Alim, I suggest what you should do. Create, aside the general group for African real estate and business insights that houses the audience, I think you should create a new group for all the previous speakers that have been coming into the platform, so that from that group, we can easily network and share ideas, and if possible, reach out to each other on things that we believe can be collaborative.
All right. All right, then I'll do that then. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today, and we've come to the end of our session. So have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you, Halima.
Thanks,
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Nice meeting you all.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you very
everyone.
much, Dr. Priska.
Yes.
You have a very wonderful presentation. I see you spoke from the point of knowledge, and we will take the conversation from there. When the group is created, I will chat you up to see how I can tap more from what you deposited.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Appreciate.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. We had an insight, actually.
Yeah. Thank
yes.
you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Halima.
Well, thank you.